Hey everybody, it's Brent Harvey with A-Hole Productions. Today is Tuesday. That means we're talking about acting stuff, technicalities, techniques. Today, I want to talk about living in your environment. Now, you may have heard this in acting class. You've heard about living in extraordinary circumstances. It can be very difficult at times to get your imagination fired up, especially the older you are, because as we grow up, we're told to quit acting like a kid, grow up, be a man, be a woman, stop acting that way, you're embarrassing me, all the stuff that our parents and friends and people say, and all of a sudden we shut down our imagination. But if you watch a kid, if you watch a 5-year-old or below, man, their imagination is running wild. And we let them do that because it's accepted, but all of a sudden you get a little bit, you physically get bigger, and all of a sudden it's like, quit acting like that? No. We got to get back to that, because the reason we got away from that is why we have so much war and conflict in the world. That's my belief system. And you know what? I think it's true. That's why I believe it. But my point to this is that the older we get, it's harder. If we don't exercise our imagination like we did when we were kids, it's harder to access it. But what we need to do is get into the environment we're living in. Did an exercise at my UCB class where you would literally walk up and you would explain to people what was on stage with you. And you go, well, right here is a dartboard. It's about this tall. It's that round. There's 5 darts in it. And all of a sudden everybody goes, okay. And then another person would go over and they go, okay, here's this thing. And they would explain what it is, what shape it is. Somebody would go, oh, there's a lamp hanging down here. And it's got an 8 ball on it because it hangs over the pool table, which is right here. And it's just an exercise we did. And then what we'd have to do is we'd have to build the improv scene around all this stuff and remember where it was. I like to draw still. I like to sketch. I like to, if I'm not driving, I like to put my hand out of the car and do this. And I like to picture myself on a skateboard or something, holding onto a car as I did when I was a kid, like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, where you hang onto the car and skateboard. Like I try to do things to inspire my imagination and get back to you, because like anything else, it's a muscle, and if you don't use it, it atrophies. Okay, so you got to get back to using your imagination. And why this is important is because if you are not living in your environment, if you just walk into a black box theater, if you walk into an audition room and you just accept the room the way it is, it gives you kind of a flat performance. So many times we got to look at this thing that's not there and we got to go, wow, that's beautiful. And actors go, well, that's, put me on set and it'll be different because I'll actually have it. Well, the reality is not always, because if you look at a lot of the studio films right now, they're big budget superhero movies. And you know how they shoot those? On green screen, right? Game of Thrones. That the dragons are just these heads that they talk to, but there's no body, there's nothing else. She's not really riding a dragon. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, she's not. She's riding like a horse saddle. They build the dragon around her. She has to use her imagination, as she did when she was a kid, to interact with that dragon. I talk about the movie Her all the time, yes, because it's such a great film that I believe is a masterclass in acting, of that he has to imagine this thing it's just an OS system. It's a computer, and he imagines what she looks like. He's created something that's not there. And then how does this play in the work altogether? How does it affect us? Well, it affects us emotionally. We sit there and go, God, that's beautiful. But if I was to look at something and go, God, that's beautiful, and I'm just staring at a blank wall, but if I was to think about it and go, think of like a waterfall or something like that and just go, God, that's beautiful. It changes just even a little bit, but the audience knows that you're feeling something. But when I apply this in like teaching class and stuff like that, people be in a scene and they'll sit on a couch, and I'll go, where are you at? And they're like, I don't know, my friend's house or something like that. I'm like, well, let me ask you this. Do you sit on your couch differently than you would sit on your boss's couch? And they go, well, yeah. Exactly. If you don't know where you're at, then you're not fully living in the environment. If you go, I'm at my boss's house, And he's like, here, in the scene is like, sit down. You're going to sit on that couch differently than you would at home. At home, you might put your feet on the couch. You might not carry because you got a terrible couch. Every time I ask a student that, I say, what is, where are you at? Is it your couch? Is it your best friend's couch? Is it your new girlfriend's couch? Whose couch is it? As soon as they answer it, their whole body shifts. Their body automatically reacts to their choice because all of a sudden their imagination goes, oh, right, we got to act a different way. I talk about relationships. We have relationships to everything. This is what I'm talking about. Your environment, you have a relationship with your environment. If you were in jail, you would say the lines differently. Your body would be different than if you were in an open green field, right? And if you were in an open green field with Nazis shooting at you, you would react different than if you were in an open green field with, beautiful women or beautiful people surround you, carrying you with love. You have to know where you're at, and it comes from the imagination, but you have to work the imagination. You have to get used to being a kid again. Know whose couch you're sitting on. Know, this goes back to the where you come from, where you're going to. Know whose house you're walking into or you're walking away from. The old joke is like, you drive a rental car the way you always really want to drive. Why? Because it's a rental car, because you got insurance. It's somebody else's. You don't care. That's why people tear up your stuff when you loan it to them, because it's not theirs. They didn't pay for it. But if it's theirs, they take care of it. Whose is it? Whose book is this? Whose car is this? Whose, couch is this? All these things matter. Know your environment. Use your imagination. Create things that aren't there. Live in your environment. You walk into an audition room, you got these two people, one behind a camera, one reading the lines, or you have a whole room of producers. You want to forget about them, and you want to create the environment you're in as much as possible. I'm not saying it's easy. This is why you have to really work on using your imagination again, like you were when you were a kid. But if you can live truthfully in extraordinary circumstances and convince yourself you're someplace else, even if for a fraction of a second, it makes all the difference. Don't just go sit on the couch. Don't just go sit on the chair. Don't just walk across. Like my house, I don't let shoes on in my house. So if people were to do a scene and said, hey, but you're at my house, they'd kick their shoes off real quick. Environment matters. It influences us just as much as the weather, as much as people, as much as dogs, as much as politics. Everything in the world, as I've said before, everything matters. If it didn't, it wouldn't be there. So this touches back to the whole relationship. This is all building upon itself. But you need to know where you're at. What's in the room with you? Again, even if the script doesn't say it, but what if it does? What if it says, in this house, there's floor-to-ceiling windows? What would you say about that? I'd say that's an expensive house. If it says it's an apartment at the top floor at the northern end of Central Park in New York, it's probably a really rich house. If it said it was if it was a shack in the deep south with nothing around, and except for pigs and cows, you'd probably go, it's probably a farm and it's probably not in good shape. And it's gonna influence your choices. It's gonna influence your body language. It's gonna influence how you interact with that environment. That's why when we do get on set and we do have a set around us, a real set, it changes so much because we are affected by our environment. So your challenge for this week is to go back and create like when you were a kid with your mind. Go outside, look up at the clouds, see what you see in the clouds. Talk to your imaginary friend. Turn a refrigerator box into a spaceship. I go to a park and just run through the field, or get on the swing set. Turn it into something. Like, we still have that little kid within us. We've just suppressed it. Get back and used to using your imagination. Look at something that is not attractive to you. Look at something ugly, like a stucco green pea soup wall, And then look at it as if it's your favorite color. Look at it as if it's the ocean or a sunset. And keep doing it until you can really feel it and you can see it, and then say, wow, what a beautiful thing. And see if you can really convince yourself that it's there. That's your goal. We need to reignite that 5-year-old within us before we are told to stop acting like a kid, grow up, act our age, be an adult, act like a man, act like a woman, whatever it is. Go act like a child again. Be playful. Have fun. That's what we're supposed to do. Because one of my favorite quotes is from Abraham Hicks, if anybody studies the law of attraction, is that adults got it wrong. We're not here to teach the children. The children are here to remind us. So, if anything, if you have a daughter, son, niece, nephew, or if you just get a chance you're passing by schoolyard or playground or something like that, take a minute and watch the kids and watch how they're just playing with their imaginations, and then do the same thing. And if you do have kids in your family, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters that are younger or whatever, like, get on the ground and play with them. Allow your imagination. Stop living in reality. Create your own. Have fun. You got to work that muscle. Get back to it. Fair enough? Cool. So until next time, leave comments and questions below. We'd love to see those. We'd love to respond to them. And maybe you have something we haven't thought of yet that we'd love to cover. As always, at A-Hole Productions, our goal is to inspire and motivate others to follow their dreams and do great things in the world and the global artistic community and bring it all together. So if you like this video, please share it with as many people as possible and like it below. And hopefully we together can inspire more and more people so we all come together on this big blue ball that's floating through space, and we can create some amazing things together. All right? I'm Brent Harvey, and remember, being an a-hole is always number one. See you next time.